Alright, so now we're going to get underway with inking this concept piece I call the Screamer. So jump right in here by adding a new layer. Then I'm going to get my pen tool. And this is really just the same kind of process as what you would do traditionally, though we do have a few more tools and things we can use in here. Some interesting stuff that we'll kind of run across as we get into this. So if you notice right now, I have the brush size set up to show as a circle, and when I'm doing pencils I like that, but for some reason when I'm doing inks I like to switch it. So I'm going to go into my preferences and I'm going to change that to just a dot, which for some reason just to me feels much more similar to a traditional crow quill pen. So I've got a few things over here in the pen settings that I like to play with as I'm working. Most of the time I'll have correct by speed and possible to snap. I'll have those turned on. Every once in a while I'll turn on and off post correction. Post correction really just smooths a line out. So if I do a stroke like that, which that was actually really smooth, if I kind of do a shaky stroke like that with it turned off, you see it stays shaky. Whereas if I do something a little shakier with it turned on, you'll see it tries to smooth it out a little bit. So sometimes that can be handy. I couldn't tell you how often or not that I have it on or off, but it's one of those things I like to turn on if I need it, turn off if I don't, you know. So anyway, I'm going to jump right in here on this guy's teeth. And you'll notice my pencils on this are really loose, which if you watched the penciling video, you may recall that I mentioned in there a few times that, you know, if I'm doing my own inks, then I tend to pencil relatively loose. That's because, you know, if I'm doing the inks, I kind of already know what goes there. So just going to keep going through here and defining these shapes. Oh, that was a mistake. Accidentally snagged some color there, so I got to restore this back to the black and white. There we go. Now, I'm going to turn all of these corrections off, so this is just very traditional feeling. Allows me to get kind of dirty with my inks if I want, which I think really works for this kind of horror-related style of art. You know, these kind of subject matters. I like that in Manga Studio, as I press, I can actually get little blobs and little things that are very, just feel very natural. Sometimes you want those. You know, if I were working on something that were, say, superheroes, which I don't do a whole lot of, or if I was working on just something that required a much cleaner style, then I would probably not keep my options set to something that would allow some of the roughness that can come from this. But you know, for a monster like this, I think it's really appropriate. Through here and just add some lines defining some of this form. Some little ticks and things in there for some wrinkles. Then I'm also going to go ahead and kind of build up this area and prepare to block in this large space. There's a large area here that I'm going to go completely black with. And hit G twice on the keyboard and just fill that right in. Okay. So, some little things I like to add to something like this at this point. Little details will strike me, like adding some drool, some little spit globs here and there, and so just go ahead and toss those in. Oh, I hear somebody coming. Hello?
Yeah. Did you tell by the grunting that it's me?
Ah, it's Rebecca. I'm recording. I'm talking to whoever's going to watch this video when I'm done with it. So you're on it now.
Oh my god.
You've been captured. She's going to kill me. Turn this a little bit, zoom out. Do some rough stuff in here. And start to kind of taper some of that out a little. Something I like being able to do it's something that I find is much quicker to do, and I really like being able to do digital as opposed to traditional, is I like being able to switch off my ink to white as quickly as you can through here, without having to put a pen down or grab a different bottle or whatever. So then I can come in with some white and do little tick marks and just add little details and things that I think kind of give a certain pop to it. And again, one of the things that I just have fallen in love with out of Manga Studio is how much it actually feels like ink. I mean, I know technically you could probably do exactly the same thing in Photoshop or Painter or any number of different apps that are out there, but for everything that I've tried, nothing feels as close through my Wacom to traditional ink as Manga Studio. It's just absolutely amazing to me. So let's go ahead and use the ruler tool. Inside this, you'll see there's a bunch of different types. What I'm going to do here is use the curve ruler. Even this is a relatively straight shape, I still want to keep it with some curvature since it's probably been beaten and bent up quite a bit. And we'll just click and plot these points in here, almost like a vector drawing program. So then I have that complete shape. Oh, almost forgot, I need to turn on possible to snap. And you'll see it snaps the stroke of my pen right to that shape. Then if I want to add thickness to it, we can just scoot that over a little bit, come down and only use that much. Now I'll delete it and come back across here and connect these together, and we have that completed plate. then I'll use my wand tool to select what's inside that, and now I can really freely go through and add shading and hatching and things to help define the shape, give it some character. So now I'm going to add my little rivets. Then I'll use masking a lot, the magic wand, just because then I don't have to worry about being so careful with making a mess. Every once in a while we'll turn off the pencil layer, take a look at where we're at. Just going to fill that in a bit. And I wonder, okay, cool. My wand settings right now are set to where I can grab some of these areas really easily. Fill some of that stuff in. Now, I'm going to turn on post correction, and I'm going to turn that up quite a bit. I want this line to be nice and smooth. Oh, that's a bit much. There we go. And, this is something that may seem like a bit of a cheat, but I don't see it as any more of a cheat than, say, using a French curve. So it's really quite similar to me, actually. So then, a spot like this, I'm going to be going back and forth between black and white, just creating some depth, building in these striations and folds, pulling. So let's go ahead and knock that out. That way I can select inside here. I'm just going to scrub back and forth somewhat. I'll hatch that back out a bit. Okay. I'll take my white and get rid of this. And then I can add some shape and just effect to it with the white. And I really dig that. I used to draw comics and I'd use white out or white paint a lot for that same sort of effect. And I really like where that goes. Sometimes I have to go back in with some black and touch it back up a little. That's okay. It's good to pop out and take a look from a distance every once in a while. We don't get kind of blinded by the small stuff to where we don't notice, large things that we need to be paying attention to. Okay. right here, I'm going to grab my lasso tool so that I can just mask off this area. Make it a whole lot easier to get some of the feathering that I want to come out from under this blinder right here. And back when I was drawing and inking my own comics traditionally, a very long time ago now, I would actually do the same thing a lot of times. So I also did a lot of airbrush work, and I started applying techniques from airbrushing using masking, frisket, things like that. And I started applying those same techniques to my inking. That just kind of made sense. So really, I'm not doing anything differently in here than I would in the traditional medium. I just, don't have the mess. It's kind of interesting to me how this character ended up becoming more and more snake-like. Almost reminds me in some ways of like I'm channeling some old G.I. Joe with Venom showing up here, or Cobra Venom, I think it's Marvel stuff. With Venom showing up. Said it again, Cobra. But there's something about that shape, coming off the sides that I really liked, that I think works well for this concept. Take a look at this mouth. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of the drool. I'm going to define some folds here and then do some drool coming down from that. I like some of these nice brushy strokes here because of the weight they give to flesh. Mask off the inside of that and then invert it. That way I can just paint right through. If I happen to make a mistake at some point and screw that up, I could always go over it with white, but since I can mask it, I'll just avoid that right now. Mask off this area because I know I want to create some real depth in here. So mask that. I'll turn my canvas a little bit here, a bit more, and I'll start doing some heavy feathering coming in here. Rotate over to the other side. We'll finish that up similarly on the opposite side. little bit of hatching over top of that just to help build out some depth. Now we're going to complete this sort of fleshiness that's here by rounding out from these lines. Come in a little bit of white from time to time when needed. There we go. Yeah. Every once in a while I'll take some white and cut back into my black areas. It just kind of helps create even more depth, I think. Strengthen those lip lines a little bit. Maybe give it some more roughness, a little bit more form coming out of there with some feathering. Let's take a quick look without the pencils. None too shabby. None too shabby so far. Here, I'm going to define these collarbones, but then there's going to end up being some stuff taken away from these heavy lines when I come through with white, helping define some of the stuff that connects. So what we'll do is come in here with this nice bold line, break that up a bit, and then come back through with some white. I really like the way that gives it the feeling of skin rippling over other skin. Here we're going to build up these muscle striations. Every once in a while I'll come back through and redefine some of that with some white. And I really liked the idea of having some scarring right here, and one good way to do that is to throw down some thick black and then come in and kind of retrace bits of it. probably end up going back over that because I can tell that I'm going to want more striation in some of this muscle, but in the meantime, I think this will work. I try not to do such a complete line around the pectorals because I want to really allow for these contours and striations to breathe through here. I also find it's really handy sometimes after you've done some cross hatching to come through and knock out what kind of acts like a rim light with just a line of white. Interesting. I think there's a key command I need to fix. Seems like I bumped something that brought up the color picker and I accidentally selected that light blue from the layer underneath. It's not a big deal to fix, but I should probably take care of that at some point soon. So I'm just going to define that pectoral muscle a little bit more right there. Through here, kind of blend this all together. I'm really kind of trying to bridge a gap style-wise between, say, McFarlane or Greg Capullo and like Simon Bisley. I love Bisley's stuff. The guy's amazing. So, you know, just trying to let some of my own influences like that shine. I think a lot of times that stuff really comes out once the ink starts flying. So. I can see in here I've got a pretty defined area that I can just punch out real quick like that. My way back through this. Pick a few lines to accentuate. I'm going to come back through with some white. Make it pop a little here and there. Notice a lot of what I'm doing here are just good old-fashioned feather strokes to build up those forms. Okay. Keep working on these abs a bit. Add some line work through here. Some feathering, and we'll come back through and work that out with some white. Try to give it that stretched skin sort of feel. same stuff through here. Getting the forms built up pretty well, it looks like. And here I'm kind of borrowing, I guess it's a little bit Bisley, a little bit, maybe a little touch of Stephen Platt type stuff going on in here. I like the way that doing the inks like this can really build these crazy forms. I really want those shapes to be well defined. You can tell looking at my inks, I'm kind of a kid of the 90s when it comes to, late 80s, early 90s when it comes to my comic inks, but that's okay. I got no problem with that. Some great artists from back then. Personally, I think most of the really good stuff we see in comics anymore, just for me personally, a lot of it really owes itself to the work of those guys back then. So, I'm definitely not ashamed of those influences, you know. Define these shoulders a little bit more. Okay. Come back through here, patch these up. Around, take a look at this without the pencils. You can see quite a bit of depth gained from that. Now I'm going to turn off my pencils, come back in with my pen and some white, and add some little knockouts in here. Kind of build up the complexity of shapes by adding some little white highlights here and there, and some that whole rim light effect again. I'm very, very fond of that. So, alright, let's go through and get some more forms. There's a couple of things I think I kind of left out of the forms, the anatomy on those arms and the pencils, so I'm just going to add those in at this point. There's a moment there where some of those lines start to remind me a little bit of Bart Sears action. I always liked the boldness of his pencils. The way that he always handled anatomy with this real strong hand. Here I'm going to add some veining. And then some neat little tricks for that, where I'll take a very solid black line, then come back through and we'll white it. If we look at that without the pencils underneath it, you'll see the way that it, as we go back and forth over it, you get that kind of disappearing effect of the veins. So, really like that effect. So now I come back through with my lasso, section this little area here off, so I can kind of complete the effect of that hatching coming out. So now it feels like it flows down between those forms. You get some depth and you get it raising back out. And another handy trick for that, to help kind of keep these things flowing into different planes of depth, is to throw some hatching in here and then come back through with white and do more of our veining across those hatch lines. So again, this is something that you really see the effect more when you take away the pencils. So now, let's come back in here and get this elbow kind of blocked in. There we go. Go with a little bit heavier handed brush, or pen I should say. Swing on around here and complete the rest of the arm. Okay. Since this is all blocked in really nice and tight, we should be able to just take our magic wand, grab that whole interior area. Now we can come in and finish out the hatching. Don't really like the way that was rolled. Something a little more gradual than that. Okay. Now again, we'll come back in with some white, kick ourselves some rim white out of there, maybe throw a few little squiggles across it to help kind of bring it together with the veining. We'll continue that veining up into the shoulders. So that really, I think, helps kind of unify it all together there. down to this forearm. I'm going to go quite as crazy with the hatching on this as I did up there, but I'm going to add a little bit just for consistency's sake. Rim light, rim light, rim light. Love my rim lights. Okay. I think I'm going to clean some of this up a bit. There we go. That's a little more what I'm looking for on that. Okay, there's that. Now let's go back up in here, work out some more of this stuff. Right here, I really want to create some depth. And key piece of doing that is going to be deciding where and how to fill in some larger spaces, give it a little more graphical sort of touch in that area. Everything I'm doing here is really geared toward trying to build some form, maybe a touch of texture, although it's weird, sometimes I end up doing textural things even though I'm not really that into the idea of it. So I'm just going to use some white to break some of this back up a little bit. Area like that, white really can be your friend. Alright, let's take a look at that from a distance. I think that's definitely getting there. So now I want to lasso off this section right here. Hold the plus key down, I can add to my selection a little bit more. So now I can come back through here. Add these lines in. I tend to want to work from the outside in. If you can see my arm right now, you'd see it swinging from the far right into the center. Some dark contours into that, deepen that up. Kick a little light here and there. Turn the pencil layer off, take a look. Come back in. A little bit more white will help define that shape as though it's running on back in there a bit. Together. Really digging that. Alright, let's turn the pencil layer back on. Go ahead and save this. And move on to the other half. Check my time on this. I might stop taping this, stop recording this, and then it's funny, we still say taping, man, it's all digital. I'm going to stop recording this, I think, just to save a lot of time, because I mean, everything that I'm going to do from here on, at least through the rest of the upper body, is going to be repeating things that have already been seen here. So rather than repeat myself and use up video time with that, I'm going to go ahead and finish up more on this, and then come back and complete the video with some of the hard surfaces, like the chains and the lock and the belt, things like that down at the bottom. Just when it gets into some things that are, you know, not as much repetition of the same techniques over and over. So I shall return shortly. Alright, so show you real quickly where we've ended up with the inks on the rest of this guy's torso and arms. Pretty happy with that. So now that we're going to get into some different techniques for the harder stuff, I figured I'd come back and start recording this again. I'm going to use the ruler, particularly the curve ruler. I really like that one a lot. We're going to use the curve ruler quite a bit to define these hard edge shapes. So here you're going to see it's just clicking. You can trace a general outline for what you need. And once I have that, then my pen will want to it. If you notice, I drew right through where this link is going to connect into that buckle. That's okay. It's not really a problem. Now I'm going to scale my ruler lines down a little bit, move them inside, and use those to get some little detail lines in here that will help give this some depth. Okay. draw another ruler line. And we'll finish the inside of the buckle with that. Okay. Now I'm going to go through and add these little lines here and there just to give it further sense of depth. Now I'm going to take an eraser and just blot out the stuff right there that I don't need. Then again, because I really don't feel like freehanding some of these hard shapes, I would really prefer to have them be nice and solid from the get-go. So in the old days I would have used a French curve or maybe some Frisket kind of airbrush style. But now I'll use this ruler curve tool. Trace my shapes, and it gives me some interesting options too, because once I've traced those shapes in here, then I can move them around and use them for different things. I think this is kind of a handy usage for that tool. So I'm going to come down here and do the rest of that clasp from the lock. Oh, I accidentally moved one layer. Then I'll just move this over a little bit, use that just like a French curve really to give myself some little line work there. So there's that. Then we're going to repeat that process up here for the rest of that buckle. It's a little clasp piece there. I really don't know what to call that. Silly and simple as it is, it's something I have no idea what the name of that object is. But it doesn't matter, we know what it looks like. So there we go. Sometimes things can be a little bit hard to grab onto like that. Okay. I'm going to swing around here. Use my wand tool to select the inside of that. Just feather my way into having a bit more depth to it. Now we're going to do the rest of the lock. Oh. If you don't plot some points real close to each other, then this tool will create some big sweeping curves, which is really what I think it's intended for. But I kind of have my own use for it. You can also have as many of these curves drawn on your page or on a layer at once as you like. So sometimes I won't delete all of them before I draw more. this because it allows me to think completely through the object with a guide. I find that very handy. Don't want to delete my pencils. Keep accidentally selecting that. So now, take the wand, grab this little area inside here. Finish that out. Here, rather than use my curve ruler, I'm going to use the linear ruler, or let's see, I don't want the guide. Sometimes it gets confusing because there's so many tools in here. Let's take which one did I want? I swear I keep thinking it's the linear ruler that I want. Is this? No, that's not cool. Let's try this again. Nope. It's not the one. There's one of these rulers, and I'm feeling kind of stupid right now. That will, no. There it is, special ruler. Ugh, yeah, that's real intuitively named. So we'll take that, kind of position it in here, and this should let me do a series of lines in here that'll just stay locked to that ruler. That's very handy. Then I'm going to take my lasso tool and set it to this polyline marquee. So then I've got selection for just this area. So now I can flesh that out. It stays nice and clean. Now, I'm going to move this ruler so it kind of fits roughly into there. Create a selection for myself on the inside of that. Let's double check my ruler. Okay, we're good. Okay. So now I've deleted that ruler. We've got our lock finished. I want to keep it kind of simple. So now let's go in and start texturing. I'm still in kind of 3D mode most of the time because it's most of what I do. I'm going to go in and start drawing in the details in these pants. Let's get these guys in here. Okay. that to some degree over here. Rivet there, like those kind of little details and things. Give it a little depth, some feathering there. This next one while my brain is kind of in belt loop mode. Since this is more at an angle, we'll treat this so that it can get some depth. Add a little thickness around the edge here. I'm kind of purposefully going with these kind of wavier, more chaotic lines now on the clothing so that it feels a little more worn, a little less controlled and polished. Now I can just kind of connect from here to here, start building this belt in. Let's see, where am I going here? Where am I going? Ah, sometimes I don't even know. Okay, I'm going to add another loop right here. And kind of finish that the rest of the way around. To add this rough stuff that I want to be the top of the pants, and then complete that little area with the belt there. Okay. Kill some of that stuff that already hid in there. Come back in and give more of the pants right there kind of popping up. There we go. Belt. I like these areas where we can use a wand to kind of give ourselves some freedom. Make my brush a little smaller. Big sweeping moves. Ticks here and there. Let's add kind of a feeling of worn squiggliness on the top of it there. And add these kind of worn belt holes. Put a hint of another one of those back here, so this all kind of feels right and feels consistent. I like consistency. Okay. that's coming together. Alright. So now, I noticed in my pencil I didn't really define the end of the belt going through anything. So I'm going to take this as an opportunity to kind of throw that out here. Then we can finish out those little details there, keeping it consistent on the belt. Alright. Now, since we want that belt to feel like it's curling out a little bit, add some of this. I also want to do the same right through here. Okay. Now, I was kind of intentionally vague with a lot of details on the pants when penciling this. So now I'm going to go through and kind of use the inking process to flesh some of that stuff out a little bit more. So I'm thinking this whole area here is actually going to get real dark before I'm done. That's fine. Don't mind that getting a little dark right there at all. Here I want to start adding some little loopy endings here to kind of give the feel of some, I don't like those at all, give the feel of some pull, some tension. Don't like those at all either. There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. This stuff right here just gets fun. You can go crazy with all kinds of little lines and details and hatching and whatever. Just kind of cut loose. Make sure I add plenty of little tatters and things hanging down here. And a lot of this I think is going to end up being defined in silhouette. I think that works really well for this kind of stuff. So just so I have some idea going in here of how that stuff's going to play out, we'll go ahead and start dropping in black into some areas. Go back through and again kick in some white just to break things up a little bit. Let's swing this around and do some of that crazy shade and hatching stuff right through here. tattery kind of stuff hanging down. Just kind of adds some craziness to it. I like that. Alright. The fun thing about tattered cloth is, it's because it's all torn up, you can kind of go crazy with your ink strokes, and you've got a lot of room for error, because really hardly any of it is error. It can all end up being little details and things that just add to it, Different artists have different tatter styles. If you look at Joe Quesada, his, even though they're tatters, tend to be really clean and super crisp looking, which is kind of cool. When you look at McFarlane, his kind of tend to go all over the place. Has kind of a liveliness to it that I like. And of course, there's Bisley, who I talk about a little bit here and there, because damn, Bisley is awesome. But with his stuff, the way that he tears cloth and things up, it's, I don't know, in a way it kind of strikes a balance to me between the orderly stuff from a guy like Quesada and the crazy stuff from Todd McFarlane, but then it has that whole painterly thing going on that brings in elements of Frazetta, and it's just crazy. So, and really all I can do is kind of take the stuff I like from all these different guys and sort of apply it, and try to let it take on its own thing as it comes out through me, which I think it's all anyone can really do. I know probably the huge difference in the way I'm doing it is the way some of my heroes would do it, is that I'm doing it on the computer. And that's something that I fought for a long time. I've always had a very purist attitude about comics, which really didn't do me a whole lot of good. So I ended up watching some videos of Dave Gibbons using Manga Studio. Just thought, man, okay, if a guy who's on that playing field can use it that well, is comfortable with it, it's like, I might as well give it a shot and just see how it feels, if nothing else. And then, of course, ended up falling head over heels in love with it. And here I am now. And, the nice thing about it is, really, in a very real sense, Manga Studio brought me back into doing comics, because there's a whole issue for me with because I run my own business. I have 6S1 Media, doing a lot of 3D work, which is great fun. I love my 3D work. I wouldn't trade it for much of anything, except maybe to draw comics. So with Manga Studio, I don't know, there's just something about it. It made it much more efficient for me to do comics, which made it easier and faster. And so then the time that I would have to take out to do it isn't as big a hit to my business, and so now comics become an option for me again. And Manga Studio really helped bring that about. So to the folks behind Manga Studio, I thank you for that. Comics really artistically are my first love, especially horror comics. Even the superhero comics that I've really liked tended to have a horror element to them, you know, whether it was Spawn or certain runs of Batman and so on. I don't like much of that. Here, I'm just going to try to get some pull, some tension in the cloth across his leg. Come through here, give a little attention to this area. Sometimes when doing cloth like this, I like to use some lines here and there that sort of imply the underlying anatomy, and then I'll go through and just kind of build them back out until it just feels, you know, like more of an implication than a statement. Sounds like Rebecca's coming back up. Hello?
Stop that.
What?
Stop that.
Stop what?
Announcing things.
I'm announcing things because I'm talking while doing a video. Say hello.
No.
Come on, say hello. Say hello.
Hello.
There she is. Here's Rebecca. The folks who are just watching this, I don't know, for whatever reason, don't know anything about us. Rebecca is my wife and partner in the business, and it's just good fun to put her on the spot sometimes. So there she was. All right, zoom out, take a look at that. I can live with that. All right, so on a magic wand this stuff. Come in here and define some nice big clothy, foldy areas here. Our way into there a little bit. There we go. Now I want to do a little bit of work under here to help lift those strands up off the surface of his leg. Maybe give a little bit of veininess rolling underneath that. Go in here and start working on these chains a little bit now. And oh, wrong one. We'll go back to my curve ruler. And just define that shape with it. And then I can move that a tick. Use it to do a couple little highlight lines like that. Okay. And think I'll keep ruling those. So I like the crispness of that. I like the contrast of that crispness to all of the crazy line work going on in other places. Yeah, that'll work out well. That will work out well. Alright. Now I need to kind of define the shape a little better here for how this chain attaches to his manacles. And I think that'll work out. Okay. Oh, slip there. So now I'm going to bring my curve ruler in here so I can guarantee myself a nice clean stroke with that. I'm going to do the same thing here so that I can define a bit of a lip to this manacle. Just clean up a little bit of that stuff. Smooth this around here so that I can pull these strokes off here a little more naturally. You get that kind of classic sort of comic book style metal shading. Whoop, or it will slip. So connect that one and repeat that. Do that. That was nearly a very bad move. I don't like that. It's too dirty. There's that. We'll swing around here again. So that. Let's add that to my selection. There's that manacle done. There we go. Now let's see if we can't zoom in here and get this other one real quick. Okay, there's that. We've got all those lines defined there. That opens us up so we can make a selection. And then there we go. ink. That, if you notice, originally my pencils had my guide for the way I wanted those lines running the other way, but I think going this way helps break them up directionally from all the lines that are defining the arm there. So I'm just going to run with this. Okay. And I want another one of those kind of metal shade things. Make it a little fatter. Just finish it out with that. Again for some highlights. Of those manacles. And I'll save this. Pause my video. Alright. Let's get the rest of this chain done. And we could just reuse the same guide over and over, but I'm wanting to keep that kind of organic McFarlane-esque sort of feel to the chains. So too much repetition, copy and paste type stuff kind of ruins that. It's one of the downfalls that I see in digital comics, digital comic art. A lot of times is it's very easy to use certain advantages of this as a crutch, and it really loses something. It's one of the reasons I kind of avoided digital, as a digital tools for comic art for so long. But so I think it's important just to kind of be conscious of that while working. Otherwise, things can come out looking really sterile. And I don't like sterile. And just kind of tweak our way in there with the hint mixed link on that. And boys and girls, there we have chains and manacles all done. We're in the home stretch on this guy. I actually ended up spending quite a bit more time on him than I intended to, but that's okay. It happens. I'm going to go super loose on this ending stuff here. squiggly line, squiggly line, squiggly line. But in the end, they all end up meaning something. Didn't like that one. We've got some more belt to finish right here. So let's just bring that around. There we go. And finish on top of those pants. Yes, we do. That's filled in enough. I can make a selection there, and that makes this part much easier, much faster. So there's that. Finish up the rest of our belt details. A little overboard there with that. Again, add some little tension fold lines right there. Let's take a look at it without stuff underneath it. Come back in here and flesh out some more on these legs. Just going to put a line right there that will allow me to make a selection inside here. And sometimes it's all about what you get rid of. This a little bit, come back over that a little bit more, that kind of work. And this is really just to build up some shade on these areas. can help break this up a bit. A little bit of rim light. Just kind of let that trail off like that. And come over here and give this other leg the same treatment. Sometimes I'll have to turn the selection off so I can see a little more clearly what's going on. This is good because this will help delineate the leg underneath the pants from the pants. This guy over. And I want to expand this selection just a tiny little bit. Let's do that one more time. Yeah. Let's just make sure we get that little bit added in there for this. Don't get too far with it. Okay. Rim light. Come back through here. Some light hatching to work this stuff back out a bit. Not quite so obnoxious. Alright. Wow. And there you have it. That's our finished Screamer concept. So hope you dug the video, hope you dig the character, and you know, hopefully you'll follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and you know, show a little love once we start getting Apocalypse Girl off the ground. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching.